Talks to resolve the issues along the LAC between India and China continued with brigade commander level talks at Chushul between the Indian Army and the Chinese PLA. Meanwhile, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh took a review meeting on the situation at the LAC with Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat and the three service chiefs. This comes a day after the Russian capital played host to India-China talks for the second time in as many weeks. It was the turn of foreign ministers of India and China to meet in Moscow a week after their defense ministers met in the city. A joint press statement issued towards the end of the talks between Indian Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar and his Chinese counterpart Wang Yi said India and China have agreed on a 5-point plan for resolving the dispute. The two ministers agreed that both sides should take guidance from the series of consensus of the leaders on developing India-China relations, including not allowing differences to become disputes. The two foreign ministers agreed that the current situation in the border areas is not in the interest of either side. They agreed, therefore, that the border troops of both sides should continue their dialogue, quickly disengage, maintain proper distance, and ease tensions. The two ministers agreed that both sides shall abide by all the existing agreements and protocol on India-China boundary affairs, maintain peace and tranquility in the border areas, and avoid any action that could escalate matters. The two sides also agreed to continue to have dialogue and communication through the special representative mechanism on the India-China boundary question. They also agreed in this context that the working mechanism for consultation and coordination on India-China border affairs should also continue its meetings. And the ministers agreed that as the situation eases, the two sides should expedite work to conclude new confidence-building measures to maintain and enhance peace and tranquility in the border areas.
This is the first direct face-to-face interaction that these two leaders are having. China has always been saying something and doing exactly the opposite on the ground. The fact that the two leaders have met, the fact that they met for more than 2 hours and had good interaction, I think that provides some hope.
After last week's defense minister level talks with China, India had strongly objected to the Chinese army's attempts to change the status quo on the southern bank of Pangong Lake in eastern Ladakh. India wants restoration of status quo ante at all friction points in eastern Ladakh. India maintains that the recent incidents in eastern Ladakh had impacted the development of the bilateral relationship. Therefore, an urgent resolution of the current situation was in the interest of both nations. India says China has not provided a credible explanation for amassing troops and equipment along the line of actual control in Ladakh. India also says the provocative behavior of the Chinese troops showed utter disregard for bilateral agreements and protocols. Meanwhile, the sitting BJP MP from Ladakh, Jamyal Sering Namgyal, said he was in touch with the locals and that volunteers had come forward to support the Indian Army in whatever way possible.
वहाँ के लोग एक्चुअल बॉर्डर विलेज के निवासी होने के नाते हमेशा इंडियन आर्मी के साथ खड़े रहे हैं और आज वहाँ पे जहाँ जिस बॉर्डर के पोस्ट पे जहां रोड नहीं है या आजकल की सिचुएशन में जो नया पोस्ट इंडियन आर्मी ने बनाया है वहां पे लोग अपने बैग पे उठा के चाहे पानी ढोना हो राशन ढोना हो वो सारे इंडियन आर्मी को हमारे सिविलियन जो है बहुत अच्छी तरह से सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं.
The Indian Army and the People's Liberation Army of China have been locked in a tense standoff in multiple areas along the line of actual control in eastern Ladakh since early May. Foreign Minister Jaishankar was in Moscow for a Shanghai Cooperation Organization meeting, on the sidelines of which he also held a trilateral meeting with his Russian and Chinese counterparts. Newsnight Desk, DD India.